Listen, you just announced this partnership teaming up with Microsoft and AI. How is that going to change my experience of driving a car?
Well, the good thing is that Microsoft has brought a lot of work of generative AI to us. And generative AI is now possible to not only see objects and analyze what actually is in front of the road for the car in terms of there's a tree, there's a bicycle, there's another car, but it now can actually interpret what the scene is all about. So are we talking about a dangerous situation? Are we talking about a situation which is critical? So see something like a ball coming around, so the movie is actually already playing in the car that after the ball probably comes a kid, and with a kid there's a risk of an accident. And that's a new thing where we can interpret now scenes and semantics and not just objects.
And you sit really at the center of this question of technology and industry, software and hardware. I'm wondering what your reaction was to the news that Apple has abandoned their plan for an EV. You know the unique challenges that exist between these two things. Does it make any difference also for the auto industry?
Now, the auto industry welcomes always new players, and we have seen so many in the recent years, right? Think about all the new players that came from China. So it's actually a good signal if somebody wants to come into the car industry. On the other hand, we also saw that some players also then decided not to do it, because you can, as we, for example, would never go into the car industry and build vehicles, right? Because we think for us as a company, it's better to bring technology to the automotive industry. But everybody has to make his decision, and definitely it's a big industry and it's a big of effort if you go into vehicle production. So anything is understandable, entering, not entering, also exiting, you will see it all.
But what you do, obviously, is supply the auto industry, an industry that is in the midst of a huge transition, the timeline of which I think has shifted substantially in the last 12 months. With the slow adoption of EVs, how much has that changed in the last 12 months, and how does it bear on your strategy?
Well, we love everybody who makes cars, right? We try to serve really everybody who makes cars. And obviously, we are monitoring very carefully what's now happening, because in the end, the consumer decides. And the consumer is influenced by many things right now. It's influenced by the interest rates. It's influenced by the general economic mood and by emotions, because you're not buying as a consumer for a reason that you need to buy something. You're buying because you want to buy something. So currently, you see, we had the first wave of fully electrified cars, lots of them sponsored by governments. And now, obviously, we have this wave like going forward. So there is now a phase where probably it's not growing that fast anymore on the electrical side. But still, over the next year and the year after, probably we see growth coming in, and also in the fully electric ones. It's a thing which is moving, and that's very much influenced by the markets of consumers.
And we talk about growth, and we talk about a challenging year in 2024, and I think a year probably for Bosch, and for many companies, it's going to be concentrated more on cost efficiency than growth. Where is the weakness concentrated, A, geographically, but also within your units?
Well, all over the world, we see now a kind of constant demand situation, which is normally for a growth-oriented company not the best place to be. We will still grow in 2024, but it requires a lot of adjustments, because the estimate for 2024 was more optimistic than we now see it. And that means to stay competitive, we need to adjust some structures here and there, and that's what we do. It's not a giant amount, but we have to do it in various small units and different locations. That's what we announced. We have to do it in home appliance. We have to do it also in the automotive side. We have to do it in back office operations, even in R&D and development. Some of our estimates were more bold than actually now 24 and 5 look. 25, hopefully we see things coming back up. But then also we wave on another technology. So things have to be more productive in 25 than they are now.
And I want to know more specifically, what is your experience now of the Chinese economy and demand in China?
Well, China will see a relative, very small growth in consumption of cars, a bit more electrical cars, so electrical against ICE cars will come, more plug-ins and more range extenders will come, and the export will grow on the automotive side. In general, the economy, you know, is not growing as fast as it was anticipated some years ago. So we're talking about a lower growth number. And that's what we feel specifically also in the home appliance business, also in the construction-related business, because you all know the construction business and the real estate business in China is in a trough.
And in China specifically, obviously Bosch is so critical to the ecosystem of internal combustion engines, and you're also obviously trying to get to the same level with battery electric vehicles. But there's also a moment now where there's more protectionism, and we've seen a lot of the Chinese auto companies trying to be more doing things in-house. Are you as well integrated in the Chinese BEV ecosystem?
Well, we love our Chinese customers. We are pretty much working with every Chinese OEM and with every customer in China. It's a great work because they're fast, they're challenging, they do great technology. And this is something where we also focus a lot on really riding the wave towards fully electric cars. That's what we do. Our large volume electric car business happens in China. And there also we are in a positive mood to further extend this, because the percentage of cars which use this technology will grow.
And we're talking about also semiconductors, because this is yet another business that you're very, very active in. And obviously, the EU wants to hit 20% of production within the bloc in 5 years, basically.
Yeah.
Is that possible? ASML says no. And if not, then how do you get there?
Well, if ASML says no, then obviously we have a very strong knowing player saying something. Well, I'm a bit more hesitant about targets set by politicians towards markets, right? There I'm very careful, because in the end, the world global market has to decide how much percentage is brought from the Europeans to the table. On the other hand, the good thing is we see now investments into semiconductor industry. It needs and requires government money. You see that in the US, you see that in Europe, you see it in Asia. So that's actually a good mood. Yeah. If it will reach 20%, to be honest, that's not so important. Important is that things go online, things come there, capacity is unlocked and actually working.
And very quickly, is Germany the sick man of Europe? We have a lot of different executives telling us a lot of different things. What is your appraisal of the German economy, quickly?
Well, the German economy has to come back. There are some things the Germans have to suffer through because it's coming from the global situation. But some things the Germans have now to act and have to think what they should do on the educational system, infrastructure, and obviously they have to solve some other issues which come around, which is like defense and so on. So Germany has to get their act together and walk and go. And then I'm very optimistic, because in the end, it's still a great place to be.